So in those cases, that's where like the additional analysis we would apply on the back end come into play, because we would see those people who have very flat emotional mind share. So they're not experiencing something more than they are somewhere else. So they just have kind of like that flat curve. And we can look at that and see why are they feeling that way, or split them up into different groups and look at the analysis that way as well.
And again, this worst least or this max scaling though, it does sort of weed out that neutrality a little bit, right? It's not as prevalent as maybe you might think, because at some point along that path, you're going to find a few of these emotions that you will cling on to and push some away.
Yeah, and since this is model data, we go through a little more rigorous applications for our data cleaning process. So we find, junk respondents who are just going through and straight lining 1 and 2 is the most and least on every single activity. So when we do that, like Mike said, the neutrality doesn't happen that often, but we can look for it. Yeah, so that's one of the back-end parameters that we add to it, where when we're doing a system 1 approach, we get response times. We actually limit how long they have to make a response as well. So we actually force them to go through and do this quickly. And that's how we apply it on the back end. Unfortunately, we have not seen a lot of differences in the overall results. The most unique difference we found was in purchasing an automobile, where in the system 1 approach, people felt more guilt and less pride. So that would kind of be like in the moment buyer's remorse. But in the system 2 approach, it was the exact opposite. People felt very proud, but they're less guilt. And that's them rationalizing why they went out and bought that $50,000 truck or whatever. Not yet. We have thought about that. And I think if we do any multicultural studies, that's something where we would actually bring that in. Some of the problems with images, though, is when I see a picture of a daisy, that may be happiness for someone, but it could be depression for someone else. I'm not sure. So there's a little bit of ambiguity with the images and using those, even though I know they've gone through several studies with the implicit test and things like that. But it's something we could do. But the benefit of using only one word in the emotion, if we do go the multicultural route, it should help translations be much easier, because we're not trying to translate an entire sentence. So hopefully that's the case as well, but we haven't explored this in other markets just yet. That was in the pilot study, but for the slide that we showed with the purchase journey, those were people at that exact stage. Our client knew their journey, so we put questions into the survey where we could use logical statements to understand, oh, they're in the purchase or they're in the discovery phase.
Yep. But you can apply this, again, the differential. That's one of the other things we're working on now, is trying to figure out what's that look like differentially as they look back on an experience. Or I think we heard someone today in one of the sessions say, looking forward to an experience. What is that emotion and how those might change and shift? And again, how could our clients take advantage of that, for lack of a better word, right? How do you play on those emotions to your benefit is sort of how we're helping a few of our clients think both forward and looking back.